Before this video begins, I just wanted to say thank you for the support on the first video. I honestly thought I was gonna post it and get like no views and no likes and no comments, so thank you. That it genuinely motivated me to want to make this video. So this video is gonna be a little bit longer. I had a little bit more to say. Like these videos, consider leaving a like and a subscribe. Helps me help you. It's a weird thing to say, I guess, but it helps me feel more motivated to make these videos. Thank you guys. Really, thank you. I genuinely appreciate it. This proverb shapes the entire message of Expedition 33. To sacrifice, to create and build for those who come after. For those who come after. The statement drives a lot of the characters' motivations and actions. The world is bleak and outright depressing, but there is hope. Even if the current expedition can't accomplish the collective goal of destroying the Paintress, they make the road well-traveled for their eventual successors. For those who come after isn't just a mantra, it's a way of life. A philosophy. Expedition 33 opens on a world that feels both breathtaking and broken. Everywhere you look are the scars of those who came before. Ruins swallowed by fog, remnants of battles long forgotten, monuments to journeys that never returned. In the distance from Lumiere, the last bastion of humanity, looms the Paintress's monolith, a number ominously painted at the top. The number representing the age of the oldest survivors and the next sacrifices. At the end of each generation's cycle looms the Gommage, an extinction-level event that quite literally erases anyone of that age from the world. Like an eraser to paper, they are wiped from existence when their number disappears from the monolith, decreasing by one every year until there are no survivors. When people are Gommaged, they leave behind a pile of red and white petals. A hauntingly beautiful reminder of the lives they lived. In this universe, humanity survives through a relentless cycle. Numerous previous expeditions have already ventured into the unknown, each one shouldering the hopes of the rest, each one fading into memory. Now, it's the 33rd's turn, and that number isn't just a title. It's a reminder of how many lives have been spent to buy one more chance. What strikes me isn't just the danger these explorers face, but the quiet expectation that someone must always step forward, knowing they may never come back. The people of this world inherit not only the mission, but the burden of failure and the grief of the generations before them. When you first step into their boots, you can almost feel the weight of past expeditions pressing down. It's a place where every success is built upon sacrifice, and every step forward carries the echo of those whose mission is incomplete. This setting isn't just a backdrop for adventure, it's a living record of struggle, a constant reminder that survival is never free, and that every generation is built on the silent courage of the last. Their one solace in this mission, their sacrifice will always be met by the next generation of expeditioners, willing to take the mantle of what could not be done, but build on what was accomplished. As we are born into this world, we inherit our parents' and ancestors' beliefs and desires. We chase the things they could not because that is ultimately the cycle of generational inheritance. Alternatively, we also inherit the cycle of trauma from previous generations, dreams left on the cutting room floor, only to be forced upon the next, the ones who come after. This cost isn't abstract. We see it in Maëlle, who carries the grief of watching her own family erased in a past Gommage, and in Verso, whose life is a collage of scars from earlier expeditions. Their pain keeps the stakes personal, proof that this mission is built on real human loss, not just grand ideals. Each expedition that departs to prevent the Paintress of her malicious actions has parents leave behind children, sisters and brothers to achieve a collective goal. Survival. To one day see a future where every year people do not have to be sacrificed to some immortal, unstoppable god. It might seem that everyone is united in this crusade, but not all agree that giving away their lives for the mission is worth it. The trauma becomes too frustrating, too detrimental for some to handle. Our world has its own versions of this. War, poverty, and natural disasters are breeding grounds for generational trauma. Our parents expect us to act a certain way because of the expectations forced upon them and their predecessors. The cyclical nature of generational trauma infects families everywhere. This repeated cycle of failure and constant danger shapes our identities and culture on a fundamental level. That weight lives inside the expedition members themselves. It is grief stretched across lifetimes, a reminder that trauma doesn't always stay with the generation that first experienced it. Expedition 33 shows how loss and pain can echo beyond a single life, becoming something almost hereditary. Expedition 33 reminds us we can choose whether to inherit the mission or not. People breaking the cycle of generational trauma comes at the cost of losing some of our culture and identity. This is not always a negative outcome, though. People can live happier lives and create happier families from this sacrifice. Some choose not to inherit the expedition. They face the paintress on their own terms and savor what life they have, and act as noble as laying down a life for a mission that seems doomed to fail. Grief hangs over Expedition 33 like a constant low hum. Everyone in Lumiere knows the gommage will come again. Every goodbye, every shared meal, and every fleeting smile carries the weight of a final farewell. When someone is taken, they leave only a scatter of crimson and white petals. No body, no grave, and ultimately, no closure. It is hauntingly beautiful and brutally efficient, as if the world itself is an artist erasing its own canvas. People light candles and etch names into worn stone in an attempt to remind descendants of loved ones gone, but monuments and whispered stories are the only defense against forgetfulness and the inevitability of time marching on. Lune carries this truth in her body, pictos quite literally stitched into her skin as an attempt to gain some measure of power and control over hopelessness. Her parents volunteered for an earlier expedition when she was still a child and never returned. Their endless need for an answer drove them into endless research, which is directly inherited by Lune herself. The gommage claimed them somewhere beyond the horizon, leaving her with half-remembered voices and a home filled with silence. Every map she charts, every careful entry into her journals is an act of rebellion against that silence. She records every name of the lost and attends small memorials in hidden corners of Lumiere, as if documenting the dead can tether them to the living a little longer. Her scholarship is not just study, it's an act of defiance, proof that love can outlast erasure. Ciel bears a grief just as heavy, but cut from a different cloth. Years before the expedition, she lost her husband in a sudden drowning accident. No cosmic ritual, just a brutal twist of chance. That single day reshaped her life long before she faced the paintress. The memory of his laughter, the way the river swallowed him without mercy, lingers in every pause of her voice. She fights now with a quiet, deliberate strength. Each measured step, a promise that his life and the countless lives lost to the gommage will not be meaningless. Her composure is not stoicism, it's survival, a shield forged in mourning. Through Lune and Ciel and other expedition members, Expedition 33 shows that loss is never abstract. It is lived, drawn across years, carried in memory and silence until it becomes almost hereditary. Trauma passed down like an heirloom. And this is where the game's world folds back into our own. Families rebuilding after hurricanes or wildfires carry the trauma of climate disasters that will only intensify for their children. Communities scarred by war or colonization inherit debt, displacement, and the memory of what was taken. Generations born into systemic poverty shoulder expectations shaped by ancestors' survival strategies. Even global crises like pandemics reveal how quickly society rushes back to normal, allowing the names of the lost to fade while the root causes remain unaddressed. Expedition 33 challenges us to resist that forgetting. Remembrance, whether through stories, art, or simply speaking a name aloud is a quiet form of rebellion. It asks, will we honor the sacrifices that built the present, or let them dissolve into petals drifting in the wind? In remembering, we choose not just to look back, but to shape a future where those sacrifices are not in vain. What do we owe those that come after us? What does it mean to plant a tree knowing we may never sit in its shade? It is the point of the expeditions, to potentially give everything to make it one step further, one more pace in the progression for all. Gustav understood this the most of all the expeditioners, constantly uttering the mantra for those who come after, not just reassurance for himself, but for all decisions being made by the expeditioners. It was the compass for every choice he made. Before Expedition 33 even left the walls of Lumiere, he had already endured the gommage claiming Sophie. He watched the crimson petals drift away where she once stood, and carried that loss like a brand. Every decision, every sacrifice, knowing that even if he is to fall, there will be someone else to pick up the torch and carry it to the next pyre. Even in the face of his death at the hands of Renoir, he understood the gravity of his choice. Turning to look at Maël as he raged against the inevitability of death, he's at peace. He knows his sacrifice will not be in vain, as he expects Maël to bear the burden. No, the responsibility of a mission he dedicated his literal life to completing. The expedition must continue, regardless of who falls, regardless of what sacrifices must be made for the future. A future where no one has to be gommaged. A future where lovers, family, and friends do not have to be forcibly and tragically separated prematurely. Parallels can be drawn to our world. Think of climate change. We know the atmosphere won't cool in a single election cycle. Cutting emissions, transforming energy systems, and protecting fragile ecosystems requires decades of work and investment. The people who plant those metaphorical trees today may never live to stand in their shade, yet their choices decide whether their grandchildren inherit a thriving planet or a scorched one. Vaccination campaigns, pandemic preparedness, and long-term disease prevention often save lives quietly and far into the future. They require steady funding and patience, even when there's no immediate crisis to rally public opinion. It's easy to slash budgets or look away, but each cut risks the lives of people not yet born. Look at our civil infrastructure, bridges and water systems and power grids. These are the bones of our society. Yet decades of deferred maintenance shows how hard it is to invest in projects whose rewards we may never personally reap. The benefit flows mainly to those who come after. And then there's housing. Across the country, single-family homes are snapped up by large private equity firms, driving prices far beyond the reach of young families. Many sellers, lured by large profits, sell to investors for them to perpetually rent out, rather than sell to individual families who want some agency in the homes they live in. Each individual decision makes economic sense in the moment, but collectively it locks countless generations out of ownership and stability. A perfect example of short-term gain undermining long-term good. These are our own gommages, slow-moving crises that demand foresight and selflessness. They ask us to give without guarantee of personal reward, to choose the hard path so that someone else can inherit a livable future. The members of Expedition 33 embody that ideal. Their mission is a reminder that the measure of a life isn't only what we experience, but what we leave behind. The expedition must continue, regardless of who falls, because the shade of that tree belongs to those who come after. We like to think of ourselves as resilient, but many of the traits that once defined human survival have quietly faded. Patience, endurance, the ability to sacrifice for a future we may never see. This was once the cornerstone of development for every community. They built the bridges we cross, the power grids we never question, the medicine we now take for granted. The members of Expedition 33 embody those forgotten traits. They march into the fog with no guarantee of victory, carrying the sacrifices of those who came before and the dreams of their inheritors. The days are filled with memories of those they have lost, and the constant shadow of the unstoppable Gomage. Yet they press on. Every choice is deliberate, every step is an act of will. Now look at the world we inhabit. Comfort is immediate. Groceries at our doorstep within hours. Entertainment on demand. Climate-controlled homes at the touch of a button. We are surrounded by technology designed to remove friction and shorten waits, while waiting itself feels like a failure. These are not inherently negative things, but it is easy to fall into the trap of ungratefulness. The sacrifices others made before so we can have these luxuries. The very quality that sustained our ancestors, discipline, collective sacrifice, perseverance, can feel alien in a culture addicted to convenience. This is another challenge of Expedition 33. It asks whether we can still cultivate those older virtues in an age of instant comfort. Can we trade a little ease for the patient work of building something lasting? Because if we can't, the future we leave behind may be comfortable, but it won't be resilient. And strength may be a virtue we need in the coming years. We've become so complacent in how things are that we forget we can improve. Make the world a better place for our children and theirs beyond. It may be a simple sentence, but for those who come after, could be a model for success if we exit ourselves from this individualist mindset and return to the collective whole that brought us to this place of consistency and comfort. Our world leaders are more concerned with lining their pockets for short-term temporary gains that induce long-term deterioration. Corporations have bought our politicians with donations that ultimately only benefit them. Elected leaders chase the next poll or the next 2-year election, shaping policy for headlines and quarterly results instead of decades. Big projects, climate mitigation, infrastructure renewal, public health preparedness demand sacrifice now for rewards that may not arrive within a single term or even within lifetimes, so they are endlessly deferred, driving this narrative that the ones who come after us will just deal with it. This is the exact opposite of the philosophy of the expeditions. Self-sacrifice for the benefit of humanity has given way to greed and self-annihilation. It is hard to campaign on work whose true successes will be measured only by the people not yet born. But that is the trap. Humanity has only developed because individuals were willing to dedicate their lives to subjects, only for their inheritors to finish the mission. We live in a world that is backwards. We live in a world of self-serving, selfish individuals who would rather save $1 than give it to someone who needs it, even if they already have plenty to spare. Expedition 33 stands as a roaring rebuke to that mindset. It reminds us of the strength we lose when we stop honoring the collective effort, the power that comes from shared purpose and patient generational work. Its heroes show us that real progress is slow and often invisible to those who make it, but it is also the only kind that endures. The expedition's march ends not with simple victory, but with revelation. After the barrier falls and the paintress is defeated, the hidden story of the Descendre family unfolds. Verso is Renoir's son. The masked girl in Mael's dreams is his sister, Alicia. And Lumiere itself is not flesh and stone, but a canvas painted by the real Verso, who died years earlier saving Alicia from a fire. Grief shattered the family. Their mother, the paintress, no, Aline, head of the Painters' Council, could not bear the loss of her son. Painters leave a fragment of their soul in every work. Verso's childhood canvas held his last sliver. Aline entered that painted world, sustaining copies of her children and Renoir, and creating a living memory where Verso still existed. But staying inside the canvas drains a painter's life, and Aline's refusal to leave trapped everyone in a cycle of fading vitality and relentless mourning. The curator, a mysterious figure who helps you upgrade your gear, is revealed to be the real Renoir, desperate to end the canvas and free his family from Aline's grasp on Verso's soul. In a flash of power, he begins the true Gomage, erasing the expeditioners and all of Lumiere one by one. Mael fades with them, still unaware of her true identity. This death unlocks the final truth. Mael is Alicia, reborn in this world when she entered the canvas to bring her mother back. Her memories return, and with them a deeper conflict emerges, whether the canvas itself should continue or not. She is also able to resurrect her fellow expedition members for one final conflict against the real Renoir. The Verso who has traveled with the expedition is not the man who died, but a painted echo. This painted Verso, weary of immortality and the endless cycles of loss, reaches for the final remnant of the real Verso's soul to end the canvas and free every being inside of it. Alicia resists. She cannot let go of the world where her brother still exists. She believes that she can build a better life inside this realm of paint and memory, even as she feels the same slow decline that consumed her mother. This is a mirror for our own grief. Their confrontation is more than fantasy. It is a window into how we wrestle with grief and trauma. Many of us preserve every fragment of the past. A childhood bedroom left untouched for decades. A phone full of text from someone gone. Social media profiles that become digital mausoleums. We build museums of memory because to erase them feels like betrayal. Others choose the painful work of release. Clearing out the closet, selling the house, deleting the photos, saying goodbye so that life can move forward. Neither path is easy. Alicia's refusal to leave the canvas echoes families who cannot part with a loved one's possessions years after a loss. Verso's longing to end the canvas resembles the quiet bravery of those who can finally sort the boxes, scatter the ashes, and begin anew. Both actions are born of love. Both carry a cost. This struggle stretches beyond personal grief. Our societies, too, often cling to comforting illusions rather than face endings. Election cycles reward short-term wins. Politicians promise huge generational changes that are put aside the moment they enter office. Companies feed a hunger for permanence through possession. We stockpile memorabilia, digital backups, and even cryonics, as if more storage could defeat mortality in some way. Social platforms preserve every photo and message. Loved ones live on as ghost profiles, making it harder to accept that lives truly end. The DeSandre family's tragedy becomes a metaphor for our own era, a reminder that refusing to confront loss can trap entire generations in cycles of avoidance and delayed healing. The final choice. Expedition 33 distills all of this into a single decision. If you choose Alicia's ending, she clings to memory, reviving Lumiere and those she loves, even as she begins to show the same decline that consumed Aline. While if you choose Verso, he destroys the canvas, erasing the painted world so that the real DeSandre family can finally mourn and move forward. It is the question we all face after loss. Do we hold on to the world we knew, or let go so a different future, one we may never fully see, can take root? The game suggests that neither path is purely right or wrong, but it does remind us that the strength to move forward, the strength Aline lost and Verso ultimately seeks, is what allows love, memory, and life to remain meaningful. The final fight between Verso and Alicia isn't one of good versus evil, but two conflicting ideologies believing their truth supersedes the other. The ultimate subject of this story. Painted Verso knows his life must end for his sister Alicia and their family to move forward, for they are the ones who come after his sacrifice to save his sister from that fire. Even though he is gone, they will continue.
Tomorrow comes.
This phrase, spoken again and again in Expedition 33, is a quiet reminder that even at the end of their lives, there will be a tomorrow, whether we are a part of it or not. We've walked the long road with the expedition, through loss, revelation, and the quiet strength of those who march for a future they will never see. Their journey ends in a painted world born of love and grief, where Alicia must decide whether to preserve an illusion or let it fade. It is a question that lingers after the credits roll. Gustav's unwavering mantra, for those who come after, still echoes. Lune's careful record-keeping preserves memory even as she accepts the impermanence of every name she writes. Verso embodies the courage to release, to let a world end so that life can move forward. And Alicia stands for the part of us that cannot bear to let go, that longs to keep our loved ones alive in memories forever. Their conflict is more than fantasy. It is a truth we all face. We build rooms we never change, keep messages we never reread, and delay the hard choices that would free the next generation. Whether it's confronting climate change, repairing the structures we rely on, or simply saying goodbye. Expedition 33 asks us what we will choose. Will we hold on, comforting ourselves in a world of memory, or will we plant a tree whose shade we may never sit in, trusting that its shelter will bring comfort and security to those who come after? The strength of a society and a life is measured not by what we cling to, but what we are willing to give up so others can thrive. That is the quiet challenge of Expedition 33. To honor the past, yet find the courage to release it, even build upon it, so that a different, brighter future can have the opportunity to take hold. Everything we inherit, convenience, technology, and safety, was bought by someone else's risk, loss, and life dedication. The question is whether we will honor that sacrifice for those who come after, or let it fade into comfort and convenience. Tomorrow comes. What we leave for it is up to us.
Clair obscur dans les hauts pins tu trouveras